Imagine a ship the size of a small city block, carrying over 300 people. It sails into a stretch of ocean between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and it never comes out. No distress call, no wreckage, not even a single lifeboat. For over 100 years, people have blamed aliens, portals, lost cities powering themselves beneath the waves. But here's what almost nobody tells you. While conspiracy theorists were arguing about other dimensions, real scientists were quietly doing something else entirely, dropping instruments to the ocean floor, launching satellites, reading data most people will never see. And what they found is stranger and somehow scarier than anything the internet ever invented. Today, we're going to walk through the two most famous disappearances in Bermuda Triangle history, one in the sky, one on the sea, the theories they created, and finally, the real science that explains them. By the end of this video, you will never look at this stretch of ocean the same way again. Let's begin. Our first two mysteries couldn't be more different. One disappeared from the sky, one disappeared from the sea. But they share one detail that should genuinely disturb you. Neither one left anything behind. The disappearance in the sky, Flight 19, December 5th, 1945, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 5 torpedo bombers lift off the runway. Flight 19, 14 young airmen, a routine training exercise. Fly east, drop practice bombs, come home. The weather was clear. The planes were in perfect condition. Nothing, on paper, should have gone wrong. 2 hours after takeoff, the flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, radioed the base with a problem. Both of his compasses had failed. He didn't know where he was. Taylor seemed convinced his squadron was somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico, when in reality, they were almost certainly drifting further out into the open Atlantic. The final transmission from Flight 19 came in around 7 p.m. After that, silence. 5 aircraft, 14 men, gone. No wreckage, no bodies, not even an oil slick on the water. And then it got worse. A rescue seaplane sent out to search for them disappeared too. 27 people vanished in a single evening. The disappearance at sea, USS Cyclops. Now, 27 years earlier, something even stranger happened. And it involved a ship so large it seemed almost impossible for it to vanish at all. March 1918. The USS Cyclops, a massive naval collier over 500 feet long, one of the largest ships in the entire U.S. Navy, set sail from Barbados bound for Baltimore. On board, 306 men, sailors, officers, civilian passengers. The ship was loaded with over 10,000 tons of manganese ore, a heavy metal used to strengthen steel for the war effort. It never arrived. No SOS, no wreckage, no debris. Not a single lifeboat was ever recovered, despite a search effort that covered thousands of miles of ocean and lasted for months. For a ship that size, carrying that many people, to disappear without leaving so much as a plank of wood floating on the surface was almost unheard of. 2 months after the ship failed to arrive, Franklin D. Roosevelt, then serving as Assistant Secretary of the Navy, officially declared the Cyclops lost, with all hands presumed dead. To this day, it remains the single largest loss of life in United States naval history that wasn't the direct result of combat. And here's the detail that made it even stranger. The ship's captain, Lieutenant Commander George Worley, was known for strange, almost erratic behavior. Sometimes seen on deck in civilian clothes instead of uniform, prone to unpredictable outbursts. Rumors spread that he might secretly be a German sympathizer. And with the First World War raging at the time the ship vanished, suspicion of sabotage or a hidden German U-boat attack spread almost immediately. 2 disappearances this strange were never going to stay quiet. What happened next turned them into the most famous maritime legend in the world. Why the legend grew: theories, books, and Hollywood. With no bodies, no wreckage, and no clear explanation, theories filled the silence almost immediately. Some claimed German U-boats had ambushed the Cyclops in a covert wartime attack, a theory that persisted for decades until German naval records released after the war showed no submarine had even been in the area at the time. Others went further: sea monsters, rogue waves summoned by some unknown force, a ship simply swallowed whole by the ocean itself. Then in the 1970s, a writer named Charles Berlitz published a best-selling book that changed everything, weaving the Cyclops, Flight 19, and dozens of other disappearances into a single sweeping theory about a supernatural Bermuda Triangle, a place where the normal laws of physics simply didn't apply. The book became a phenomenon. Documentaries followed, television specials followed. And in 1977, Flight 19 itself was even referenced directly in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The film's opening scene shows the missing squadron's planes mysteriously reappearing in the desert, implying they had been taken by something otherworldly. Writers and paranormal enthusiasts kept adding details that were never in the original military reports. Taylor supposedly screaming about white water and a strange sky, compasses spinning wildly, a green glow over the ocean. None of it appears in the declassified Navy files. But by then it didn't matter. The story was already too good to fact-check. Every shipwreck, every downed plane in that stretch of ocean slowly got folded into the legend, until by the 1970s, the Bermuda Triangle's victim list had ballooned to hundreds of ships and dozens of aircraft.
So, is the ocean here really more dangerous than anywhere else on Earth? This is where real science stepped in. In 2013, the World Wildlife Fund published a massive study analyzing global shipwreck data across several decades. And the results were deflating. If you were hoping for something paranormal, the Bermuda Triangle didn't even crack the top 10 most dangerous stretches of ocean on the planet. By incident rate per volume of shipping traffic, it ranked behind the South China Sea, the coast of the United Kingdom, the Mediterranean, and several other busy waterways. Insurance companies, the people who track risk down to the cent, don't charge higher premiums for vessels crossing the triangle. The United States Coast Guard doesn't officially classify it as a high-risk zone either. You'd think that would close the case entirely, but scientists are stubborn, and instead of just saying, "There's nothing here," and moving on, they kept digging. That's when things got genuinely interesting. Our first two real discoveries come from two completely different directions. One from the bottom of the ocean, and one from the sky directly above it. And both explain the single most terrifying detail of every disappearance: the total absence of wreckage. The ocean floor is hiding a bomb. The seafloor beneath the Bermuda Triangle isn't a flat, boring stretch of sand. Down here lies the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest point in the entire Atlantic Ocean, plunging over 8,300 meters down. That's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. In 2017, researchers from CAGE, the Center for Arctic Gas Hydrate, Environment and Climate at UiT, the Arctic University of Norway, used sonar and seismic seafloor mapping to uncover massive craters on the floor of the Barents Sea, some as wide as a kilometer across, carved by violent methane eruptions. Gas, trapped under pressure in seafloor sediment, occasionally bursts free with enough force to blast out a crater the size of a city block. The seafloor here holds massive reserves of methane hydrates too. Ice structures with gas locked inside, stable only under specific pressure and temperature. Change those conditions, and the structure collapses, releasing methane in enormous rising bubbles. Laboratory experiments show that water saturated with rising gas bubbles loses density dramatically. A ship sitting directly above an eruption doesn't slowly sink. It drops in seconds, as if the floor beneath it turned to air. No time for a distress signal, no wreckage, no oil slick. Everything pulled straight down into the rising column of bubbles. Geologists confirmed the hydrates are real, though mass eruptions are rare, perhaps once every few thousand years. But the fact remains, there is a gas bomb sitting under that ocean floor, and it only takes one seismic tremor to wake it up. Discovery 2, the sky that kills without warning. The second discovery came from above the water, and it explains vanishing aircraft far more convincingly than any portal ever could. The warm waters of the Gulf Stream collide with cooler air descending from North America, breeding microbursts, localized storms that appear almost out of nowhere, reach hurricane strength within minutes, and dissipate just as fast. In 2016, meteorologists at Colorado State University analyzed satellite imagery and discovered strange hexagonal cloud formations, unique to this region, linked to violent downdrafts researchers now call air bombs. Slamming into the ocean surface at speeds up to 170 kilometers per hour. Picture an invisible fist punching straight down into the water, generating waves up to 15 meters high and hurricane-force winds across several kilometers. A plane caught inside one of these downdrafts can lose altitude so violently that a pilot simply doesn't have time to react. And 30 minutes later, the sky clears, the ocean goes calm, and rescuers find nothing but flat water under a perfectly blue sky. Nothing supernatural happened. The weather here simply knows how to kill fast and without leaving a witness behind. 2 discoveries down. And science has already out-explained half the internet's favorite theories. But the final discoveries go even deeper, into the planet's own magnetic field and into a wave that shouldn't even be able to exist. Stay with us. And now, the final discoveries. The ones that finally explain what really happened to a 500-foot ship and to 14 airmen who never made it home. Discovery 3, the planet's broken compass and a hidden current. Sailors have complained for centuries that compasses behave strangely here. In 2020, researchers at the University of Leeds confirmed why. This region sits inside the edge of the South Atlantic anomaly, a zone of weakened magnetic fields slowly drifting across the planet. Inside it, compasses can genuinely give inaccurate readings, and satellites experience more frequent electronic glitches. And running directly through the same waters is the Gulf Stream, one of the most powerful currents on Earth. Scientists have recently discovered massive underwater vortices breaking off from it, invisible whirlpools up to 300 kilometers wide, capable of pulling a ship silently off course while its instruments show a completely different reality. Discovery 4, the wave that shouldn't exist. And finally, in 2017, oceanographers at the University of Southampton modeled wave behavior across the triangle and confirmed something once dismissed as a sailor's myth. Rogue waves, solitary walls of water up to 30 meters tall, forming suddenly, existing for only minutes, then vanishing without a trace. A rogue wave hits a vessel from above and from the sides at once, cracking the hull, flooding the deck in seconds. A ship can go down in 2 to 3 minutes, far too fast for any distress call. And because the wave disappears as fast as it formed, rescuers arrive to find calm water and clear skies. Nothing at all. According to researchers, this exact stretch of ocean is one of the most likely places on the planet for rogue waves to form, because 3 separate wave systems collide here at once: the Gulf Stream, the open Atlantic, and waves reflecting back off the shallow Bahama banks. So what really happened? Put these pieces together, and the 2 disappearances that started it all finally make sense. The USS Cyclops was overloaded, carrying far more manganese ore than her design allowed, with a documented list to one side even before she left port, and a damaged engine that had never been fully repaired. Investigators Now believe she likely sailed straight into one of this region's sudden, violent storms and weakened by structural stress and overloading that broke apart and sank almost instantly, fast enough that no lifeboat was ever launched, fast enough that no distress signal ever went out. It wasn't the only time it happened either. Decades later, two of the Cyclops' own sister ships, built to the same design, vanished in the same general waters, under eerily similar circumstances. Not proof of anything supernatural, proof of a structural weakness repeating itself. And Flight 19, disoriented, without working compasses, running low on fuel over open ocean as darkness fell, almost certainly went down far from where searchers were looking, in waters deep enough and rough enough that no trace would ever surface. No aliens, no portals, no lost city humming with ancient power beneath the waves. Just an ocean that happens to sit at the exact intersection of 5 different natural forces, each one on its own, capable of erasing a ship or a plane without a single trace. So maybe the Bermuda Triangle was never really a mystery at all. Maybe it was just science that hadn't caught up yet.